difference, one cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. You know what time it is. It's tea time with Miss Liz, and you know what that means. It means storytelling time and words, and we have a returning guest, and you know how Miss Liz loves returning guests. So today I have Gloria Petersen in the house, and we're going to be doing a different type of tea today. We're going to be double dipping. So we have two different types of teas that we're going to be serving, along with all the incredible updates, her new book, all of that good stuff. So before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel. We're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so you can get notified when all these tea times are live, and you can join the live stream. If you have any questions, comments, or support that you'd like to share, you can put that into the comment section. You can also see Miss Liz live streaming right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So be sure to check out all of those platforms as well. If you have any questions or comments that you would like to ask Gloria and they are related to our conversation, we would be more than welcome to have those join us. If you'd like to stay anonymous and you would not like to know and share your name, you can also send me a private DM message on my Facebook page and I'll get those questions out to Gloria. So before we get started, let's do the disclaimer and a bio, and let's get Gloria in here. And we're going to serve a double tea, and today's tea is transforming exceptional abilities is the first T. And then the second T is training, empowering, and achieving. So and then we'll be talking about her book, The Art of Professional Connections, and the series, and all of the other good goodies. So let's get started with disclaimer and bio, and then we're going to get Gloria in here. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all regular tea times are hosted on a Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a tea time on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's a special, surprise, or rescheduled tea time. So now a little bit about my guest. Well, Gloria Petersen is a returning guest. She's the founder and director of Global Protocol Academy, LLC, is a seasonal speaker and trainer with over 3 decades of expertise in empowering individuals to navigate both professional and social scenarios with confidence. Her dynamic presentations are designed to elevate your interaction, while her literary work, including Mindfulness and Health Watch, your weekly Inspired Me journal, and the Art of Professional Connection series, provides critical skills for your professional growth. Let me get Gloria in here and let's put some tea together. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you for inviting me. I love this. I love your show.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Gloria. And we were in the background talking and breaking the ice and getting some updates and all of that good stuff. So, Gloria, for anybody who hadn't seen you on the last season, let's share a little bit about who you are as a little girl and who you are now as a grown woman.
Oh, who I was as a little girl?
Yeah, we're going to go way back.
We are. Okay, you want a little history of my little girl days. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm the oldest of 6. So when you're the oldest of 6, you become a mom real fast at a very young age. And what I mean by that is My youngest sister was born when I was 13. And at that time, my mother was kind of done with the whole raising baby things, diapering, bottling thing. And it was always, Gloria, change Tammy. Gloria, feed Tammy. And I felt like a mom, you know, and sometimes I would get so angry with my little baby sister and I'd say, don't call her mom, call me mom. But, you know, the story behind that really is it made me grow up maybe too fast. And I kind of resented that for a while because I really did grow up too fast because I had to take on such responsibilities at such a young age. But it also made me stronger. And I wouldn't realize that until, you know, way into my adult years, how that time in my life made me stronger today because I've had to totally take command of who I am and what I want to do. I had to totally take command of me. So those of you as a child were raised with very, very supportive, loving, doting type of parents, be grateful. Be really grateful. I love my parents, you know, and that they passed in the past few years, but I would say that when I moved from Illinois to Arizona, where they are now, and I had to start taking care of them as they both went into their dementia time, I got to know them. There's, you know, when they moved to Arizona in 69, and I didn't come out here until 2007, I did not have but a week of vacation contact with them during that time. So I had to start all over, getting to know my parents. They had to start all over, getting to know their oldest daughter. So as a child, just saying it again, I just grew up too fast, but it made me stronger as a result. So you have to look at, I regret I grew up too fast, but I'm happy it made me stronger. Does that make sense?
It does, right? Because we need the balance, right?
Yeah,
We need the ups and the downs, and growing up fast gave you that strength to be who you are today as an individual.
yeah.
You know, Gloria, I want to talk about these double T's because when you gave me two T's, you were like, "Oh, can we do two T's? Absolutely, we can do three, we can do four, right?" um, so when I reached out and connected with you again, I wanted to know where you were since the last time you were on, and the growth. And when you were on last time, you were talking about a new book. Um, so the new book that you just released is the Mindful One and Health Work, right? Part
It's a
series.
journal. Yeah, it's a journal. I'll just back you up if you don't mind, and back you up a little bit.
No, 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 no.
Um,
We can go way
okay.
back.
Okay, we can go way back because I really want people to respect the forks in the road. And when things happen that are devastating, you lose your job, or you lose this or whatever, if you really take command of you, it's really a time. And if I can use the word universe, the
Yeah.
universe is saying, okay, we need to do some rerouting here. And what's really happening, and you don't realize it at the time, is you're being rerouted. And we are all gifted with this thing called curiosity within us. And I think some of us take it too much for granted. And when you're curious about something, check it out. Just really go with it. And that doesn't mean check with your mom and dad, check with your siblings, check with your friends, check with your coworkers, because they're going to have different points of view and they might not be in a line with yours. But if you have a feeling for something, a real feeling for something, and you find they're starting to say, oh, no, no, you don't want to do that. There's no money in that. There's no this and that. Don't listen. Listen to you. It's good to get
Yeah.
input and get some guidance from that. But bottom line is you have to listen to you because I did not listen to me when I was getting all the naysayers, when I was getting all of that, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I spent 16 years in a corporate world. And I thought that's all I was supposed to do because women back then, especially back in my day, in my generation, we were supposed to get married, have babies, raise kids, work as a secretary. Didn't matter if you had a degree or not, you were a secretary. Some of you are going to be able to relate to that. A stenographer, and that's a word that you probably have never heard before. But I worked for a company in the contracts department, and I was administrative assistant there. And I thought that's all I was destined to do until I got the fork in the road. The company was downsizing, pink slips were being issued. I was safe as long as my manager did not leave. If he left, then the department would be dissolved. He left, the department was dissolved. And I'm going to tell you the story because there's a little grit here that I did not know you had. There are going to be things going on in your life where you have an opportunity to find your own grit. And I can't stress that enough. Let it happen. Just let it happen, because I didn't know then what I had. And this was a very male-dominated company where if you were a woman with a degree, it didn't matter what your education was. You were a secretary, stenographer, administrative assistant. That was it. The men, quote, the men, were the sales and marketing team. And the men were the managers. And the men were et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people of my generation are going to know what I'm talking about. Well, they had a Dale Carnegie course they were giving all the sales and marketing people. And it was free. The company would pay for it. I think back in that time, it was like $350 for 13 weeks of it. Well, I said, well, if you're going to pink slip me out of here, I want to take that course. I had no idea what it was. I just had this feeling that I was supposed to take that course. But I didn't know what it was about. I had no clue. And I went to HR and they said, no, they didn't say you're a woman, but they said no. I thought, huh? Well, don't tell me no. When I want to do something bad enough, don't tell me
don't tell
no.
Gloria no, because she's coming.
And they said no. And so I went back to my desk a little bit dumbfounded. And I decided, well, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to go out there and ask them again. And they said no again. And then, but the second time I asked the magic question, because this all leads to where I am today. The second question was, well, what would it take for me to take the course? And that's what I'm going to tell all of you to do. When you're told no, just say, well, what will it take for me to be able to take the course? And they said, well, you'll have to have your the vice president of your department, a vice president signature. Okay. Well, they didn't say which one. And my VP absolutely would not sign it. He was not pro-women in any way, shape, or form. They were to know their place. That was my VP. However, I was sitting at lunch one day and this VP went by who was the number one VP. He was number one. And his last name was Lewis. And I thought, Lewis. I went to high school with a Steve Lewis. I wonder if that's his son. And I've done a lot of volunteer work at the YWCA, and they have a Lewis on their board. I wonder if that's his wife.
Small world, right?
So as he's getting ready, and he always toured the engineering department during the lunchtime because he liked to get to know his engineers. He was just really social in that way. So he walked by my desk and I said, Mr. Lewis, well, you know what happens to yourself when that happens? Your heart's going boom, 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 boom. And you're thinking your blouse is going like this. And mine was doing that. I was almost embarrassed at myself knowing how that movement was going on. And he stopped by and he says, yes, Miss Peters, was I Petersen yet? No, I wasn't Petersen yet, Miss Ham. He says, what can I do for you? And I said, by any chance, is your son Steve Lewis? Well, yes. How do you know my son? Well, we were in the same graduating class. How's he doing now? Is he at Yale? Of course he's at Yale. Where else would he be? And then I said, and I noticed on the board of directors at the Y, there's a woman by the last name of Lewis. Would you know her? Well, that's my wife. I'm all for women. Women getting ahead. Are you kidding me? And he says, where are you going with this? He finally gets serious with me. Where are you going with this? And I said, well, I've got this document right here and I want to take this Dale Carnegie course. And I asked HR and they just simply said I needed a vice president signature. See, he was my boss's boss. That's how I went. He was my boss's boss. And he says, well, of course. You want us to take it? Improve yourself, better yourself? Of course you can take it. He signed it. And I took it back to HR. And I wasn't, Ms. Liz, I wasn't doing any breakthrough the glass ceiling thing. And this was in the early 80s, everyone. If you're trying to figure out the timeline, it was the 80s. And I wasn't thinking in terms of breaking through the glass ceiling and women's movement. That wasn't in my head. What was in my head was something for me that the company would pay for something, some educational piece that might be helpful to me as I move on to something else. And of course, they were a little bit dumbfounded because I had to take it. But you know what? That opened door. When I got to take that course, it opened doors to other women there. Well, if Gloria can, why can't we? It just really opened doors. But long story short, because this is transitional time, this is fork in the road time. Okay. And I took the course. I didn't know it was about speaking. Well, in high school and college, I got A's in speech class. And I just thought it was just one of those easy classes to take just to get a good credit. I had no idea that was my gift. And I went through the 13 weeks and we had these big dinners afterwards and celebrations. And I thought for sure, I'm going to get Miss Congeniality. I know I'm going to get that one. I didn't. And then when he went through the alphabet, my name was Petersen then, come to think of it. Okay. And he got to the P's and he skipped my name and he was on the T's. And I thought, wait a minute, A, B, C, D, E. I'm actually going to the alphabet thinking, I know P comes before S, T. And then at the end, he says, I saved one certificate for last for a reason. And he said, Gloria Petersen, would you stand up and come up here, please? And I thought, uh-oh, what did I do now? And he said, you are the only one. I never forgot these words. They're life-changing. Think about things people say to you that are life-changing. You are the only one that didn't need to be here. You just didn't know it. And everybody applauded. And I thought, huh?
Wow.
I know. And he says, I'll explain to you later. And I just thought, what? So when we had a sidebar conversation later after everybody left, he says, Gloria, you have a gift. People companies are paying thousands of dollars for people to take the Dale Carnegie course to get over this fear of getting fun for a group of people and speak. But you love it. You get up there and you absolutely love it, except if we give you a topic and you didn't get to plan for it or prepare for it, then you don't like it anymore. No, I don't want to be unprepared. I don't like it when because sometimes they did the impromptu topics, and I didn't like those.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a chance to research it and think it through. And he says, so I'm going to recommend that you get in front of groups, do fundraisers, volunteer to commentate fundraisers, volunteer to speak at this, just volunteer for whatever you can so that you can recognize this gift that you have, number one. Number two, find your passion. What is it you're passionate about? What is it that just makes you get so excited in the morning you can't wait to share it with everybody? And then and I did. And that's why I'm in the industry I'm in right now, because I loved helping people back then, women dress professionally. So the Dress for Success thing was going on back then. It was a fit for me. It was easy for me. And then the other turning point, and again, I give you these turning points because I want you to think about your own life in the process. The other turning point was I was doing all these programs, quote, free, because I loved it. And it was fun. And I was good at it. And then I had a bank contact me and want to know if I would do a Dress for Success program for their staff. Well, of course, because somebody saw me I did YWCA workshops on it. And someone was in my group at that time. So I did it for him free. And then he sent me a letter and he said, Dear Ms. Petersen, let me be the first to give you a check. You need to be paid for what you're doing. You're good. And he gave me $100 check. And I wish I had made a copy of it because I didn't know I could get paid. Back then, that was a lot of money for me. Okay. And
Right. Those are the moments you want to hold on to, right?
I wish I'd made a photograph. I was so excited. I opened a bank account and then I went to the bank to get a loan and they says, no, there's no track record. There's no this, there's no that. So I had to use my savings. I used whatever I could. And so I started out with, and let me rephrase that, what was also evolving at the same time. And you know, when you get those forks in the road, pay attention to perfect timing. What is going on out there that just happened to happen at the same time that was happening to you? And mine was John Malloy wrote a book called Dress for Success. And Carol Jackson came out with a book called Color Me Beautiful. Well, in high school, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer. So was that a sure fit for me? Yeah. When I was working at this company, whenever there was an issue with the way someone was dressing or their makeup, I wasn't HR. But they would always come to me and say, can you talk to Edna? She's really doing a lot of blue shadow lately. We kind of like to lighten it up a little bit. Sorry, Edna.
And, well, back in the 80s, the blue was the in thing, right? For eyeshadow.
Oh, but she overdid. I mean, she really did the blue all the way up to her eyebrows.
Oh, wow.
Or else they might say, would you kind of drop a hint to this other person? She's dressed a little bit too sexy for the office. I mean, I would get those things and I think, why are you guys asking me to do this? But I would. And then I thought, oh, that's why I was getting nasty. The universe told me I'm supposed to start doing this a little bit when I was in a different environment. But anyway, moving on. So I started doing Dress for Success programs. I did color analysis. I did body line. I started doing workshops in that area. Then I thought, well, you can be dressed for success, but if you don't know how to behave properly or handle yourself properly, and I wanted to make sure I was handling me properly too. So it
Yeah.
was not just for everybody else. And I saw an article and there was no degree in this. There was no education in it. I had to find the certification that was available. That's all there was. So there's the Professional Image Institute in Atlanta that I found in the Wall Street Journal, which I subscribed to at that time. When I want to have my own business. So if I'm going to have my own business, I better subscribe to the Wall Street Journal.
But
And
there's a
so
time and place for everything, right, Gloria? Like we were talking
yeah,
before we went live, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
universe opens these doors and brings us these challenges in life where we're just like, why now? Like,
And brings your attention to something that you would not have otherwise read or noticed. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Yeah.
And I saw this in a journal and I thought, well, that makes sense. I'll go there. I already know most of what she's going to teach, but I just want a certification that says I know what I know.
Yeah.
And I did go, but she did introduce me. It was all about dressing professionally, and image work, is professional image work. But there was a segment on etiquette, business etiquette. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So then I saw an article in the journal with the Protocol School of Washington, D.C., which was also, quote, brand new at the time. And I thought, well, I'm going to go to that. And now get a credential for me, so to make sure I know my protocol and etiquette skill sets as I go out there and try to wander out there as a business owner. But then I'll teach it to others. Once I learn it, then I need to teach it to others. And that's
Yeah.
how I am. I want to learn so I can teach others. And so that's how it all evolved. That's how the professional image, business etiquette, and protocol of my life's work evolved in 1985, moving forward. And in 210, I shared this with Miss Liz earlier. For those of you who are dealing with something called cancer, I was healthy, vibrant, everything. Took very good care of myself. And all of a sudden, it was January 210, I received these excruciating pains that were unbearable. I was getting ready for a 7-course wine dinner at Gainey Ranch here in Scottsdale. And I got out of the shower and I keeled over. And my cousin had to take me to, urgent care, who sent me to ER. And half hour later, I wouldn't have made it. I had a carcinoid cancer tumor. And they're slow growing tumors. It took residence by my colon, slow growing. They figured it was about 7 years in the making, and it was getting ready to shut me down. I had no idea. I have no idea where that came. No history of it in my family, by the way. No one's
Wow.
even heard of it, you know. So while I was in the hospital, I thought, I was going to be there for a week, and I was getting restless and bored. And I thought, you know what? If I had died, all that knowledge, all that experience, all that I know would be gone.
Yeah.
Poof. So I told my daughter, I asked them if they could take this one morphine button off my finger, which would automatically give me morphine as I need it. And I said, so I need this finger because I want my daughter to bring me my laptop. And they says, well, you'll feel more pain. That's all right. I need my laptop more than I need to worry about pain. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't care. I wanted my laptop. So while I was in the hospital, I wrote the chapters to this book. Well, I said it kept my mind, but the healthy part of that is it kept my mind busy.
Yeah.
Because if you have something like that going on, and if you don't um, occupy your mind with something positive, something you can develop, create, then you start woe with me, and start feeling sorry for you, and woe with me of everybody else. I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I started writing the chapters. So when I got out of the hospital, I just continued, and I got on a roll. And so 211, I published it. I hybrid publishing is the route I took. For those of you who are interested in how I went about it, hybrid publishing. And then I wrote one on networking, and wrote one on dining skills, and wrote one on event planning, because I was a protocol advisor to Motorola for the Olympics when they were here back then. And I wanted to write that experience. So I started writing these books. So that's how that journey started. And now we're probably heading for your phase 2 of this segment.
So we
I
have a
don't know if you
comment
wanted to
here from
inject
one of our
anything.
listeners, from Bruce Lee. He's Mrs. Petersen. You are an inspiration. Wow. And this is why we do these tea times, right? And we share these stories because
Yeah.
stories matter, and they encourage other people to share their stories as well. And me and Gloria, before we went live, we were talking about your cancer and that, and life brings us these challenges, and sometimes what we can't control, we just have to go with the flow.
Mhm.
But we try to control what we can, and that's exactly what you did when you were in the hospital. Is you had the control to take that off of your finger and deal with the pain. And it is true. We need to get our minds busy, because then it's the poor me, or what could I have done? Woulda, coulda, shoulda, Get your mind busy, get it done. I had a guest on last week, Joyce, and she said, let's get those books that are under our bed published.
Yeah.
We write these books, and then we pass away and the books are found later and we're not getting them out there. Where you took that step, Gloria, and you said, look, I want to get it out there. I want my words and my knowledge to be known if anything should happen.
Well, if I had not made it, my daughter would have buried me with my laptop.
Right? Like, but today you've written 5 books with that
Yeah.
series.
It's for that particular series, there's 4. The number 5 is a little different. That's our little
Oh,
U-turn
okay.
here. We're going to do a
Okay.
U-turn there.
We're going to go on a different fork.
Totally different one. And before I leave that, though, I thought of my book in 210 in January when I was doing those chapters. I was writing my legacy. So if you have a book in you, under your bed, wherever it is, and you think this information about the experiences you've had in your life, or the knowledge that you've acquired during your career, is valuable enough to share, then put it in writing into a book so it can live on. It only lives on if you write it and you
Yeah.
record it. And publishing today is much easier than it used to be. And as far as how much is it going to cost, well, that depends upon you. How much you want to put into it. And so I said that there. So now I'm going to do another fork in the road, if you will.
Yep.
I'm going to call this fork. Yeah, it is a fork. It's called COVID. It's a COVID fork. Okay. When COVID hit, okay, now I'm a speaker. I'm a trainer, seminar leader. I get hired to be the breakout session at conventions and symposiums and things like that. Or companies bring me into their training room to do corporate training, like Caterpillar, Toyota, those are the kind of companies I did training with. And COVID says no. COVID said no. Can't go anywhere. So I thought, and can't make money, can't do anything. You're kind of stuck. And I think the worst thing you can do when a pandemic hits like that, or something happens and you're stuck, is to woe with me. Don't go there. There's so much more to you than woe with me. So I decided to do some reflecting. And I reflected on all those decades that I had done seminars for all these companies. And I was even going through my thank you notes and my endorsements, my um, testimonials, and thinking, you know what, these are good. I was good. I can't give that up. But then I thought about something, and I was dealing with a lot of my own issues, personal issues at that time, that were playing interference in career. And a lot of times personal stuff plays interference with your career. And I'll give you 2 of mine, just so you know. Obviously, the cancer's one. This cancer, I survived it. It went into remission. But with carcinoid cancer, for those of you who are familiar with it or maybe not familiar with it, it's not an organ cancer. It's a cancer that takes residence by an organ, and when it matures, it shuts the organ down. So it's very different. It's not chemo or a radiation candidate. It has to be surgically removed if it's by an organ where that's safe enough to do. Okay, and it can come back after 10 years. And I recently learned that mine did. And it's not by the colon anymore; it's by the liver. But as long as it doesn't change shapes, sizes, it just stays the way it is right now, I'm fine. But during COVID, I'm reflecting on a lot of things, and I thought, you know what? And the other thing that was going on in my life was my marriage with I'm remarried about 10. Let's say, put it this way: I was married for 21 years. I was divorced for 23, and I lived totally on my own by myself all 23 years. And then this guy came along that wouldn't go away.
Boy, oh boy, those boys, eh?
I know. I married him 10 years ago, and I was wife number 5. Red flag, red flag. And it was falling apart because all of a sudden I was finding out from him during that time that he no longer wanted to stay in this marriage. He wanted to move on again. I thought, oh, you know, so I thought, okay, I'm going to reflect a little bit. So I sat down, and it's interesting when you go on YouTube because I heard about this. I went to this luncheon, and it was just before COVID hit, January 20. That was my fork in the road luncheon. It was called the Global Women's Peace Network Luncheon. I was invited as a guest. And as we left, we were given this journal. Now, I've done the journaling, was just blank pages, and you put woe with me all over the place. Every page is about the woe with me in my life. Devastating things that were happening, sad things. It's kind of things that you just try to get it from here to here, so you have to think about it. Okay. And it was called The Gratitude Diary by Melanie Spears in Australia. I didn't know how to think like that. I didn't know I was supposed to be reciting gratefulness. I didn't understand. I didn't get it. But I thought, and even though mindfulness and gratitude had been around for a while, it was now a movement. It was getting a lot more attention. It caught my attention. And I thought, well, I like this way of thinking. Think in terms of what I'm grateful for, not so much about what's not working. And so I went on YouTube and I just put in mindfulness. Well, when you're on YouTube, you put in something, and then they give you a whole bunch more of other stuff. So I might put in gratitude, and I start listening to try to learn a little bit more about how to be grateful. Then intention pops up. Oh, intention. So then I read what's intention, and then affirmation pops up. And I thought, and then inspiration pops up. Then visualization these things kept popping, and I kept watching them. And then it got to the point where by the time I'm done watching all these things and filling my mind with these different ways of thinking, COVID was starting to let up. And I went to Barnes and Noble, and I sat Indian style on the floor in their journal department. And they had the journals that were blank pages over there. And they had the journal type workbooks over there. Why they were separated, I don't know. And I sat down. I says, well, I made a list of about 7 things that I had watched on YouTube, and there was like intention, gratitude, affirmation, visualization, kindness, wisdom, spirituality, all those things, mindfulness. And I wanted one book to help me with all those things. I want them all in one book. Did it exist? No. Gratitude? Yeah. Mindfulness? Yeah. But not those other 5 things. So I decided, well, I'll write one.
There you go, right?
If you can't find it, you write it. So then I sat down and started creating, because it was still, even though we were coming out of COVID, work wasn't happening. Companies were not bringing back their intern programs, because my claim to fame when I was very active out there was intern programs. I was very good with intern programs, and I would be hired for those, and that was going to be a slow comeback. So then I wrote it down. And then the other thing I want to share with everyone, because I think this is important, I was starting to do, let me rephrase that. My parents were, my mother first into dementia, and I'm trying to help her. So I know the symptoms. Then my dad starts going into it, and I'm trying to help him. Again, I'm knowing the symptoms. Then all of a sudden, I think I've got the symptoms. I start scaring me. I'm driving, and I'm taking left turns instead of right. I'm making stupid mistakes. I'm forgetting things. I'm saying something, but I really meant to say that. The word that came out of my mouth was not the word I was thinking, if that's making sense to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I went to my doctor, and I said, I want a brain scan. I've never had one. I want to know what's going on up here. Something's going on. And I was scared to death to be told I was in the early stages of dementia. Scared. And so they said, well, we have to give you a dementia test. Well, I intentionally failed it because I wanted the scan. You have to fail it to get the scan.
Look at you. You had the inside scoop. I know if I fail this, I'm getting that test.
Well, it's hard to do because it's like an insult to yourself, but you knew that if you did well on it, they wouldn't do the scan.
They would be like, there's nothing wrong. And we don't need to do
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't need to
So
scan.
anyway, they did the brain scan, but you know what they found? That someplace in here, I had a stroke scar. And as a result of the stroke scar, I had permanent memory loss. And what I'm going to say to all of you out there, what that means is I can look at a photo album of my kids, my family, and not remember being there, and not recognize the environment, and not recognize anything about that scene whatsoever. And that was scaring me too. I knew that, but now I understood it. And so they figured the scar happened when I won't go into details on this, Liz. This is a whole different ballgame. But in
Okay.
2004, I was the victim of a senseless act of violence where I almost lost my life in a department store where I caught somebody stealing something, tried to stop it. That's all I'll say about that right now. But we figured I probably had a mini stroke at the time I was going through all that. Okay.
Oh,
And so the doctor sent me to a neurologist. The neurologist puts all these things on you, monitors. Then the neurologist sends you to a cardiologist, and you're doing this triage, if you will. And finally, when all this got done, I said to my cardiologist, because I wasn't happy with what the neurologist was coming up with. Something inside me was disagreeing with him, even though I'm not the doctor, he is, but I know my body, I know me. And the cardiologist was making more sense. And so what they did find is I have an artery back here that's partially blocked. Now, this is what the neurologist found. And it's interfering with blood and oxygen flow to my brain. If you aren't getting the amount of oxygen and blood flow to your brain that you need, you're going to have dementia-like symptoms. Even though it might not be dementia, but you're going to have the forgetfulness. And I said, well, do we need medicine? Do I need surgery? What do I need to correct the problem? And I'll never forget his words. It's not, I keep looking at my watch, make sure we have enough time. It's not significant enough for a procedure. Huh? What do
so
you
you
mean
got to
it's
get
not
clever again. Gloria, you got to get clever again. Play the system.
It's not significant enough for a procedure? In other words, just deal with it? No.
Wow.
So I went to my cardiologist and I told him what the neurologist said. And he says, yes, Gloria, there is something you can do. Yes. He said, first of all, he had me wearing compression socks. For those of you, those are a bear to get on and off.
Oh,
But
I
he said,
hate those things.
yeah, I know. But he said, I said, well, we did those for a while, but they're so hard to get on, especially if you have arthritis in your hand. It's really challenging. And he said, okay, you're going to need to force it. And that's why I wrote, this was the bottom line. This is why I finally wrote this book. He said, you need to force the blood flow and oxygen to your brain through that path that's narrow. And I said, how? And he says, brisk walk, minimum 30 minutes a day, and you will be forcing it. We take for granted walking, but oh my God, it's therapeutic. So my son bought me a smartwatch for Christmas to help me with my discipline. And the smartwatch basically says that if I walk briskly, 6,000 steps a day, I accomplish that. And the cardiologist agreed, a minimum, but 8 or 10 is better. Yeah. So I did that. So in this book, when I wrote it, I'm just showing you right here, I actually put a box up here to force you, the reader of the journal, the user of the journal, to do the same thing. Because it would ask you, because you have to compete with yourself.
Exactly.
You have to discipline
That's
yourself.
Exactly what we need to get out there, Gloria, is they
you
need to do the work.
So I'm asking you, so I took and all those 7 elements and I put them in the book. And I said, okay, it'd be great if you can do all 7 a day, but maybe if you focus on one, like maybe Monday's your intention day, maybe Tuesday's your gratitude day, maybe Wednesday's your affirmation day, but focus on one, watch a YouTube video on it, learn about it, learn how to use it, learn how to recite it, learn how to integrate it into your way of thinking. You have to rewire your brain basically. And then at the end of the day, look at your watch, write down how many steps. And sometimes maybe I didn't do the steps, but I did some I love Zumba. So I did Zumba today. or I did free weights today. But I write something down, because if I don't write it down and record it, then I'll let 3 or 4 days go by and not do it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a journal that's very different. And if it's going to force me, and I use my own journal, absolutely, I wanted to help others with their life as well. So, as we do, and dementia isn't something for elderly people. Trust me, young people are going through it too. And for different reasons, it can come
Yeah.
into your life. But there is something you can do about it. And it comes with two things. It's the way you engineer your mind to think. And sometimes we have to rework it so that we think positively and not negatively. So we don't do woe with me, we do wow with me. And you have to train your mind to do that. And sometimes a book helps you do that. So that's why I wrote the book. So the book was to help me help you. And I do it. I just didn't write the book and just put it aside. No. And this one, I'm not going to write anymore. I wrote 223. This is the 224. And the reason is, this one goes from 224, 225, 226, etc., all the way to 229. You just check the box of which that journal is going to be used for. And
Right?
that's so that if you start like March, you can start March 224 and go all the way to March 225. And I didn't want anyone to think that they had to wait till the first of the year to start. That was my thinking, so they wouldn't have to do that. So, and yes, I'm dealing with stuff. I'm dealing with the cancer is back, but it's sitting there dormant. But it doesn't mean it will stay that way. But I'm going to tell it has to stay that way. Okay,
You just want it
I'm
to sit. We don't want it to move. Like, we don't want the
yeah,
numbers changing.
I'm dealing with divorce. It is what it is. This is supposed to be the rest of my life. I was looking forward to my 25th anniversary at age 94, or whatever it is. And I married somebody who just doesn't like to stay married. And I knew that when I married him. I took a risk, I took a chance, but you know what? There's a lot about this marriage that I'm grateful for moving forward.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to be reinventing my life again and reworking it. And one of my plans is to move from the Phoenix area I'm looking at North Carolina.
Oh, well, look at
Uh,
you.
yeah, I've never been there. And some will say, how can you think about moving someplace you've never been? No, I don't have family there. I have a son in Vienna, about 4 hours away, Vienna, Virginia. Um, no, because I feel like the universe is putting me in that direction. Things have happened. Like, again, I'm going to ask you not to take things for granted, and certainly have Liz and just inject some of her thoughts into this. But when you're trying to think about where I should go, and you turn on a movie on Netflix, and it takes place in North Carolina, okay, then you think nothing of it. Well, this is North Carolina. I see the scenery, see the trees, that you kind of look at from that point of view. And then the next time you turn on a movie on Netflix, it's another one, North Carolina. And I'm
It's
going,
telling
wait a
you
minute.
something. The
Yeah.
universe tells us stuff, right? When we
And,
listen. And I tell this all the time on Tea Time, right? Our
yeah.
teas tell us different things,
Yeah.
different journeys, different adventures, taking us onto a fork in the road that we would have never thought we needed to take. And I love that you kept saying the fork, the fork in the
Yeah.
road. Because there are so many different forks in the road. You can go left, you can go right, you can go straight, but you got to take those actions. You have to
Yeah.
take those steps. And we talked about this before we went live, Gloria, is things in our personal life affect our business lives, and sometimes the personal life is giving us a message that the business
Yeah.
is not right for us and we have to change direction. And like we talked about before we went live as well, is building relationships, building those connections, have those long and lasting avenues so that you can reach out and say, you know what, I'm having a rough day, but I think just you're the person I need to talk to today. And that's the legacy that I'm hoping that I'm leaving behind with all of these tea times, is that my guests can come and say, you know what, Miss Liz, I need a cup of tea with you today. But it doesn't need to be a podcast interview. It just needs to be, can I call you at 2 a.m. and let's just sit and chit chat? I want to be there for all of you guys. And Gloria, like, when we reconnected, it was like, Gloria, I want to have a couple of my guests come back, and right away you were like, yeah, absolutely, put me on the list, let's do this again. And I find that you inspire me to stay strong as well, because we both have our own journeys that we're going on, personal and business wise.
Mhm.
And we're like 2024, it's enough. We want
Well,
2025.
one of the things, I'm just going to inject this real quick. If I apologize for interrupting. Um, Before I forget, I had the before I forget, my mind will
No,
forget.
that's
You
okay.
know
Go
what?
ahead.
Okay. When I was doing the journaling thing, I sat there and I thought, oh my God, I did this backwards. Everybody out there, you're doing things backwards. And when I say that, if you don't have your mind in the right place before you try to learn a skill, you don't learn it as well as you could have or should have. So then I thought I should have done this, the journal, before I wrote the 4 books. Because by starting out, and even in seminars when I do them now, and I did one last week, I start out with some mindfulness in the beginning. Then we go into the skill sets and develop them. But we close with some mindfulness at the end. And because I think that's so important, that's the bookends. Those are the
Yeah.
bookends of your life. You have to start your day with some mindfulness thinking, then end your day with some mindfulness thinking, and you will feel healthier and happier, and you will smile when all this stuff is going on. You'll smile. The other thing in the signs, I reached out to an author friend of mine who, quote, I thought he was living in Scottsdale, because I am part of an author community, and he was one of the guests on my show. It was like my kind of podcast, but it's through another organization. And he wrote a book that I found very, very inspiring. There was something I highlighted in it, and I was going to call him to share how that touched me. And I says, "Can we meet for coffee, Mike?" He goes, "Well, Gloria, I don't live in Scottsdale anymore." "Oh, where'd you go?" "I'm in Cary." Guess what state?
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina.
You're always going to say, don't say North Carolina.
And then this week, I'm also successor trustee of my dad's estate, because I did lose my dad last year. So I'd meet with the attorney last Tuesday to go over how to close out the estate and my responsibilities with the accountant and all that. And I'm talking to Joshua, who is the legal aid at the desk up there. And I says, "Well, Joshua, I don't know if I'll see you again, because I've known him for years because my dad. I don't know if I'm going to see you again or not, because I think after the first year, when the divorce is final and the house is sold and I'm going to be moving, I'm going to Cary, Indiana." Guess where he's from?
North
Not Cary,
Carolina.
Indiana, Cary in North Carolina. Guess where he's from?
North Carolina.
Cary, North Carolina. Guess what he brought
See,
out
it's
for me?
calling you, Gloria. It's a gotta do. Like, everything is directing you to North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm just trying to struggle to find something here. Oh, and guess what he gave me?
Oh, well, look at that.
Look what he gave me.
Is that
No,
a
I don't
keychain or
think
a
I need
magnet?
any more signs.
Right? The universe is screaming at you, North
I know.
Carolina.
I thought, all right, universe, I got it.
And you
But is
just have
that
to listen.
you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So somebody could have just given this to me and I could have, oh, that's nice, it's cute. But I thought, no, wait a minute, that's telling me something. There's a message there. Back at you,
And
back at you, Miss
in
Liz.
life, that's what happens, right? And Gloria, things happen to us, and we're just like, why does it keep tapping me? It's like my Oma. My Oma keeps tapping me, T, 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 T. Okay, I got it. You want me to give T? Like, but if we don't listen to what the messages are coming, we're missing opportunities. We're missing those forks in the roads. We're missing, and connections, relationships. We're missing, that chance in a lifetime that might take us on a path that we might have not ever known had we not listened to that sign. And I think 2024 is giving me and you both signs, right? That it's time for a move. It's time for a change. And you just never know where it's going to take us, and it's going to be scary, but we both can do this. And Gloria, I really hope that you stay strong. Like, you're an amazing person. I'm honored to know you and to get to know you even more. And I'd love to know, once you moved to North Carolina, how it went and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
As you were sharing your stories this afternoon with us, you were sharing all of the reasoning behind the words that you gave me for the T's as well, the transforming, the empowering, the achieving, asking, how can I get there? How can I do this? Like, right at the beginning when you were sharing in corporate, if you don't ask, you don't know. And then you gave me exceptional life. Like, come on, like you've lived an exceptional life. You've been married 5 times, and look, and now you're moving to North Carolina.
No, me too. Me too. He
Oh,
has 5.
oh, 2 times. You're
No,
okay.
the husband has,
The
I'm
husband's
wife
5
number
times.
5. He's husband number 2.
I was gonna say, I thought you were only married a couple times.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
my first husband passed away.
and you gave me the word abilities. I want to get into the word abilities. Share a little bit with my audience why you gave me that word abilities.
Say that again.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, it glitched and I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, well, we got glitches in the house. So you gave me the word abilities. We really didn't get into abilities. So let's get into that a little bit. We still have a couple minutes here before we wrap up. So why'd you give me that word abilities, Gloria?
Yeah, because we all have unique abilities within us that we were gifted with. And to try to copy somebody else's ability is not who we are. I think you have to really reach into yourself, find out what that natural gift that you have. We all have them. We just have to figure out what they are. And sometimes those forks in the road, sometimes that feeling of curiosity is a way of trying to get you to think differently about your abilities because they're there. You are unique for a reason. And just to share that, back in the 1980s, when I was struggling with a lot of stuff because of making all these changes, and neighbors and friends were just arguing with me or making me feel less. I had a girlfriend, a new friend at that time. She says, Gloria, don't ever change. You're unique. And everyone is unique in their own ability. I never forgot her words. She gave me permission to be unique. And by being unique, I got to really tap into what my abilities were as I try to get others to tap into theirs.
I think it's important, that we give that little push, right? That little encouragement, and sometimes the outside sees a little bit to give us that encouragement to move on. I see this in you, Gloria, but maybe you're not paying attention to it. Like North Carolina. you know, um, and also I asked you to give me a word to describe yourself, Gloria, and you gave me the word effervescent.
Effervescent. And I gave you that word effervescent because back in the day when I was trying to figure out my life as a professional presence, etiquette, and protocol person, trying to figure out what gives me the right to train on these kinds of things, I'd hired this PR person who was doing what they call a one sheet. And she was doing descriptions about me. And she says, and in that description, she had the word effervescent. And I thought, huh? What's an effervescent?
Yeah, because when you sent it to me, I had to go Google it. I was like, what the heck is
It's
this?
bubbly. It means joyful. It means you're bubbly. It means you have energy. Then I thought, oh, I like that word after all.
Yeah, I just loved it because when you gave it to me, I was like, what? Oh, she's going to make me do my homework, right? Here we go. We got to go and
No,
look.
recognize your effervescence. Find your
Yeah.
effervescence. It's there. And
Well,
bring it out
everybody,
more. Let people experience it. Let people have fun with your effervescence.
I love it, right? Say it. You can't say that word without smiling, right? Like,
I
and we were
know.
talking about that before we went live with smiling. In life, we get hit with so much that all we can do is just smile. And people ask us, why are you smiling for? Like, you're going through a divorce, you're going through cancer, you're going through the, and but the smile is just our strength to keep going and keep pushing on. Gloria, what final message would you like to leave everybody with today about being professional, connecting, relationships, all of that good stuff?
I think I'm going to go back to the word you just said, smile. I think people, when you're walking around, when you walk into the room, no matter where you are, have a nice, approachable expression on your face. Doesn't mean you have to walk in and go, I'm here.
Here
Which
comes the
might be
clown.
effervescent me might do. But just walk in as if you're happy with yourself and who you are as a person. Have the expression of, I'm who I am because I was made to be this way, and I'm content with that, and I'm going to work with that. And I think that's probably my biggest recommendation is be who you are. Don't try to be who you're not.
Well, I think it's really important. Like you brought some really good stuff to the table today, Gloria. And again, you inspire me with your strength, and keep staying strong. We're gonna make sure that that cancer doesn't change. Numbers stay the same, because we got a lot of things that we can do in the future together. In North Carolina, maybe Miss Liz needs to go to North Carolina to visit Gloria. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just never know where your tea will take you, where your direction in life will take you.
Mhm.
Check out Gloria's book. So, Gloria, if anybody wanted to check out your books and connect with you, work with you in any doubt, where can they reach you?
My name, GloriaPetersen.com. And just remember that the Petersons with an S-E-N, and everything about me is there.
So, Gloria, do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to share?
I have upcoming projects. I'm working on another book. And this one will probably come out in 225. But this one's going to be all about the grit within, your grit within, how to find it, how to discover your own grit. And I'm not I want to use the word grit, but I'm kind of playing with it right now. And it'll
Yeah.
be sharing my stories and how I discovered I didn't know I had it. A lot of you out there listening, you don't know you have it, but it's there. It's just you taking the time to reach in and use it to overcome whatever it is that's going on in your life so you can move forward.
I like that word grit, right? It's like a good grit and gravy,
Yeah.
and keep looking and keep searching and all of that. So for the listeners out there, I do have a couple questions that came in, Gloria.
Okay.
I'd like to get them out before we wrap up. We still have a couple minutes. Uh, so for your series, your book series, you have 4 books, correct?
I have 4 professional development books and 1 personal development.
And each book, are they easy reads? Are they hard reads? Are they exercise books? What are they?
The 4 professional development books are resource books, and they are in soft cover and ebook on Amazon. You can get it either way. The journal's a little hard to do as an ebook because you have to write in, record information. So that's soft and hardcover, and it's not only available in English. When I was a speaker in Puerto Rico last December, and our reception was at the local bookstore, I noticed they had a very, very low representation of gratitude type books. And I showed him mine, and he said, "Well, if you do your next one in Spanish, I'll carry it." So I did.
Oh, there you go. And
So
the
there's a
next question,
Spanish version for all of those with Spanish. I have a Spanish version for you.
I have for you, do you speak on your personal story on stages?
Oh, yes.
So you are open for opportunities for that as
Oh,
well,
yes.
right, Gloria?
Yeah, my stories have to drive a point. I just don't want to dictate behavior. I don't want to dictate anything. If I haven't experienced it, then and can follow that experience with how you can use that tool yourself because I've learned to use it. That's how I prefer to teach.
And is there any final steps that you'd like people to know about professional connections?
I'm sorry, say again.
Or final steps for
Oh, final steps. No matter what you're doing in your life, and the society has been very, very casual and laid back, and social media has changed the structure of professionalism in so many different ways. Tap into what is really professional. Revisit it. Revisit the word professionalism. Look it up. Revisit it, and see if you can't reincorporate that into your life if you're not there already. Because I'll tell you why. When it comes to professional presence, business etiquette protocol, anytime you know how to handle a situation correctly because you've got the knowledge of the business etiquette, you've got the knowledge of the protocol, you've got the knowledge of the presence, it empowers you at that moment and you don't embarrass yourself. So just know it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And Gloria, how do you feel about etiquette in the corporate world?
It needs to be revisited. It has I think a lot of I grew up with a grandmother who made sure I knew my social skills. And unfortunately, a lot of our young people don't have that. because grandparents are busy, parents are busy, everybody's busy, busy, busy. And there's so many different ways to learn things, and there's so many bad teachings out there, if you will, bad examples out there. I think corporate America and in the also the educational system really needs to bring this back, to reintroduce it to our young people so they can see the value. If they can see the value, what's in it for me, they will take it more seriously and they will utilize it. And as a result, we will become a better society.
Well, thank you so much, Gloria. And thank you so much for the listeners and viewers out there. And thank you for your questions and comments and support. Without all of you guys, I could not do this. I could not have these incredible tea times and with these guests. So again, thank you, Gloria, for joining me. Thank you to the listeners, viewers. If you're watching a replay, please push #replay and let me know where you're tuning in from, because Miss Liz always likes to know where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions or comments or support that you'd like to share on this tea time, be free to reach out to Miss Liz, and you can reach me on my website at www.misslizsteatime.com or my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with rescheduled tea time with Jose, and he'll be sharing his story from hero to villain. And then on Thursday, we have 2 tea times. We have Susan Carlos coming in and sharing her son's story on heart transplant, organs, and the importance of organ transplants. And then in the evening, we have J.M. Shaw coming in, and she'll be talking about her Callum Walker series and autism and ADHD. So we're going to be talking about a lot of incredible stuff. So you be sure to come in and tune in. And again, share these tea times. They're there for educational purposes and connection and relationships. And if you'd like to connect with any of my guests, you can just reach out to Miss Liz, and Miss Liz will connect you one-on-one with all of my guests. So until then, I will see everybody tomorrow. Keep sharing your teas, keep staying true, and we will make a difference with one cup of tea at a time. Miss Liz style.
Thank you.